Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today for this unique webinar we have all together. And today I'll be accompanied by Thibault Koechlin. Wait, what the
Hi.
audience? Yeah, by Kamil.
Hey.
Hi, Kamil from Berlin, and Claas.
Hi.
So we wanted to tell you about how Overkill, a high-end sneaker brand, is fighting against scalpers, and that's a big problem to handle because they are very tricky. And Kamil and Claas will tell you more about that. First, we'll just explain how CrowdSec works quickly because a lot of you already know how it works, and what we can do for e-commerce and why we are working with e-commerce tightly. Because e-commerce plagues, the one I'm displaying here, are highly behaviorist, right? These are behaviors we can spot in log files. And to us, for having hosted a lot of e-commerce systems in the past, namely Magento, Hybris, and others, we've seen a lot of layer 7 DDoS. So DDoS that are here to block your website, prevent it from functioning, by altering the CPU, RAM, disk, or network available. Credit card stuffing. So basically, people trying credit card numbers to validate them. So they stole credit cards or they bought a bunch of credit card numbers on the darknet, and they're trying to see if they are still valid. So what they do is against your PSP processor, they're trying to make a microtransaction to see if it's still a live credit card. This costs you a lot. Some of our clients lost up to 10,000, north of 10,000 euros a month in credit card stuffing attempts. Scalping. I won't be going in depth on this one because we have two real experts that have really stories from the war front. So I will let them discuss this point. But it's basically buying a product and reselling it for a profit, automatically buying a product. Then there is price monitoring and catalog stealing. It's not exactly the same category, but the two are in the same, used by the same people, your competitors. Basically, what they are doing is they are monitoring the price of the lawnmower because in March everybody is buying a lawnmower, and they adjust their own price based on your price to be sure they are still competitive. Some of them are purely and simply stealing your catalog because the catalog costs a lot of money. Anyone has acquired a Kineo for his own company knows how much it costs to create a catalog from scratch, right? So it's really an important thing that you don't get stolen this property. Credential brute force, obviously, people trying either your clients or the admin login password to get into your or their accounts, and vulnerability exploitation. A lot of, if not all, platforms add vulnerability exploitation, cross-site scripting, SQL injection, you name it, bypasses of every sort. So there is always a way to solve it, and you can solve your own problem because maybe the problem you have is not listed here. But if it's leave trace in the log, we can definitely do something about it. So I would say there are two types of exploitation. Maybe Thibault, you want to say something about that one?
Yeah, sure. So here we are seeing like the mass exploitation. It's typically something that people that are scanning the whole internet, trying to find some vulnerable machines and exploit it without targeting specifically someone. They simply have a hammer and they're looking for nails to hit on. And then there's a targeted attacks, which is actually a lot more in the case of scalping, in the way that it's people that are after a specific target, as it's a specific vertical, a specific technology, or something like this. When it's about mass exploitation, definitely this is where the reputation system and the community blacklist are very efficient because they are going to allow you to basically not get rid, but at least diminish a lot this kind of threat that you are seeing. And in terms of proportion, if you expose some random machine on the internet, you are going to see by simply having a good protection against mass exploitation, such as community blacklist, you are going to see more than 90% decrease in terms of the number of alerts you are going to see on a machine that you didn't even try, for example, to reference on a search engine.
So thank you, Thibault, for that. It's really important to understand the difference between targeted attacks and mass exploitation. So what we see today is targeted attacks and scalping, but mass exploitation is also something you should take care of, and CrowdSec can help you doing this. Basically, we acquire logs, we read them, We detect the bad behavior we want to prevent, scalping, scanning, hammering the ports, trying credentials, and then we remediate with the second component, which is already something you have in your network, could be your load balancer, could be your reverse proxy, could be anything you already have to deal with this threat, or component we can provide because it's all open source, right? And then we share the IOC. We share this IP A, B, C, D, try to do scalping at my place. Please, CrowdSec, know about it. And if enough people are reporting the IP A, B, C, D as having the same behavior, well, we'll tell ourselves, okay, it cannot be random. It cannot be a coincidence. This IP A, B, C, D really is trying to do scalping at scale, for example. And we will distribute this IP to the entire network so that it's blocked in real time. And when the IP is released and no longer used by the bad guys, we release it. That's how the community block list works. Check. And so there's just so many behaviors you can deal with. Actually, my slide is not even updated. We have more than 100 by now. Could be ransomware letter move, credit card stuffing, catalog stealing, credential brute force, you name it. And you can use CrowdSec everywhere. And I will stop at this because the guys that are waiting on stage, Kamil and Claas, are high-end engineers that solve the problem that is very complicated. We are so proud that they are using our product to tackle such a tricky problem that they will describe. And you can use this product to tackle your own problem in any environment. Thank you for this quick introduction. Without further ado, Kamil and Claas.
Yeah, hi, I would like to start. So yeah, my name is Claas. I'm working for a sneaker company or a sneaker selling company, what is called Overkill. And I will give you a short introduction what we do. And yeah, we deal with hype sneakers. So it's mostly collector's items or items you can sell on the secondary markets like eBay or platforms like StockX for much more. Philippe, can you go on with the next sheet? Yeah. For example, you can buy the shoes you can see here. I just did a small screenshot of a secondary market, and what you can see there that this is the actually price of some products. And for example, the most expensive one was 159 euros when it was sold on our platform. And what we deal mostly is collectors or who go crazy for those kind of items. The other problem is with all these products, there's a kind of artificial shortage from the manufacturer side. That's why we have really rare stocks of those items. So that makes it so profitable to buy it and sell it on the next market. The other point, what we really have problems with is just when we sell items that we have a drop shipping market where automatically orders are transmitted to our systems to save taxes, for example, in other countries. So they order instantly those products to bring it to the border and then transfer to the next borders. So it's not only what I want to say about that is it's not only about these high profits, what you can here see in the screenshots. It's sometimes just short, very little profit what they do, but in the sum they order much more, and this is causing a lot of traffic and requests to our service. And another thing what Philippe already mentioned is the problem with credit card frauds. It's not a huge thing for Overkill because we are not offering so much payment options. Especially the credit card is in our case really safe. And we have to deal with DDoS attacks. Of course, all our formulas and registrations forms on the websites are used by bots too. Especially when we release our products, we make it sometimes only possible for registered customers to order those hype products. And that was one thing we started in the beginning, but it was even caused more problems because then we had these problems with the registration in our system. Yeah, can you go to the next, please? Yeah, here you can see quite good an example for these crawlers we have always on our website. They are doing, for example, in this case here, price monitoring, or they do just checking if the release products are already on our website. And yeah, this is just a short example that is not showing the whole traffic we have, of course. But you can see that is mostly the search, for example, used. And yeah, when the search, we all know, is causing needs more resources to the database, for example, than just the normal front end. If you take a look at the PDPs, for example. And yeah, this is especially a big or huge problem for us because yeah, we have to get more server capacity and so on and so on. Yeah, the next one, please, Philippe. Yeah. After all, when these crawlers I was showing before, when they were being successful and were finding what they wanted to do, and they found an upcoming release or something, then it's not the crawler what is going to the website. Then the magic or the horror for us started normally. And that means that other bots, not these good crawlers, because they are really hard to identify, because they look like Google. They are sometimes using Google servers and so on. And it's not so easy for us to see if it's good crawlers or bad crawlers. But if they found a product and we couldn't block them before, then they start their bots, and then they try, as you can see here in the links, they try to get items in the cart, and with a lot of requests. And what you can see here is an example. We just put a shoe to the website. It was the release was around 12 o'clock, but you can see already that the bots already know how to put it in the cart just before the item is buyable in our shop. And in the past, for example, it causes a lot of downtimes of our servers. And here, for example, you can see the blue part. I think it's already blocked, right, Kamil?
Yeah, the blue one is blocked, people.
Yeah, and yeah, this is I lost the topic. Yeah, and they try to log in and try to get the item to the cart, and yeah, it's really hard to block. How can I say? Because yeah, even if we do it, what I mentioned before with customer accounts, it's really hard to separate normal customers from bot customers, because yeah, they use a lot of email addresses, like thousands. We mostly see that in a few days before we release a special item, that they put a lot of customer accounts to our system. And yeah, it is not so easy to identify then who's a real customer and who's a bot. So you can see here 1 or 2 hours before it starts already that we can see it. And the good thing is you can see here already all the results of our scenarios, that most of the bots are not getting through, and they cannot reach our website anymore. Yeah. Something to add, Kamil? Did I forget something? No.
Only one point is kind interesting. Like, you can see so many requests on search page, and it's because the most bots or crawling scripts trying to get those links and post those into their Discord or Slack to get like notifications. So people who are getting those bots already know, okay, there's a release in a few hours, so they can already start with the tools and try to scrape the bots, the shoes, to get early links. And that's mostly the thing why we have so many requests before our release.
Yeah, maybe it's good to say that, this is a question. Speed is of the essence for the scalper. He needs to be the first one to know. He needs to be the first one to put it in the basket, in the cart, because actually there is a limited number of them. So if he wants to be able to have enough of them or to resell them, the more the better. So if he can, pre-optimize his attack or actually his scalping action, he will. That's why before the product is even released, they are already ready on the website lurking to buy something. The same happened, for example, back in the days with NVIDIA graphic cards, when there was a shortage in the supply of the semiconductors coming from Asia. So NVIDIA or PlayStation 5, they had a hard time to deliver. So anytime there would be one in store at Walmart or Best Buy or whatever, it would be scalped right away. And the guys were even doing drop shipping. So meaning they were not buying to resell, because PlayStation, for example, Sony and several shops found a way. They were actually writing the name of the person on the box of the PlayStation, or sometimes on the PlayStation itself, so that it's harder to resell. Actually, what they did is they took the order from the client from their secondhand, like eBay or whatever, and they ordered directly from the store, drop shipping at their place. Meaning they were not even getting the good and reselling the good or reshipping the good. They were directly delivering at the client place in the end. So they were just a man in the middle in the end, making money.
Yeah, exactly. And the point is, we are not fighting against some kids like it was maybe 10 years ago when I was, for example, my history here in the company is that, or everyone in our company is, of course, addicted to sneakers or just collectors, or is collecting since already a few years. And 10 years ago, for example, it was more the kids who were using this like easy scripts in browsers to order something. Now there's a huge professional market about these bot orders, and it's not only the sneaker scene like us what has to deal with it. It's like tickets, it's everything what you can make profit about it. It can be the weirdest stuff. Even in our discounters, Aldi, they release sometimes products you can only buy on the secondary market like eBay. And so the thing is, what I think it's really interesting, this topic at all, because it's not only in the sneaker market or ticket market or collectibles items market. It's now, I think, in the whole e-commerce a plague, or this bot and crawling. I would say already attacks. It's not a normal usage, and we are, for example, we are in Germany. We are waiting for the governmental decision to make it as a serious crime, but it's not at the moment. So that's the reason why you can see here that there's already professional bot providers who offer services monthly, and they even give a guarantee. So you pay a month like between 30 and 250 euros, and they give a guarantee of 1 or 2 sneakers or other collectible items. And it's really easy. You just have to fill in your shipping address, your PayPal IDs, and or credit card data, and the rest will do the website for you. And it's really hard for us in the last years to fight against something like that. And we were always looking for tools to fight for that. And you can see on the next, I think.
It's just a note here. It's a complex problem for the people in charge, legally speaking, because as such, you're borderline in violation of the usage of the website. Okay, you're buying. You're not supposed to interact as an automated person, but who is going to sue you and say, oh, you bought automatically where you are supposed to buy like manually? And the problem here is the legislators have tons of things to do and taking it as a serious crime. So maybe in Germany, because Germany is very strict about a lot of things, but before it reaches France or Italy or whatever, they're going to be like, yeah, sure, one day. But Kamil, you were telling me something extremely interesting also some days ago, is that we see with Claas the example of something that is making a time 10 or time 6 in the price tag. But you told me a lot of scalpers are actually doing it for just 5 euros.
Yeah, it's been kind of interesting because I starting with writing bots and using bots about 6 years ago. So there was a market for this one. And it was like a small community for people who could use this bot because it was kind of expensive. You pay about 2,000 or 5,000 for a bot. And today it's something like kind of interesting. Everyone can buy a bot and start it. So it's like investing about, I don't know, 1 hour into it, so you can find a community who provide a bot for your scene, and then you can buy shoes. And before Corona, it was like everyone was trying to get limited shoes because you could make a big money with these services. But currently, it's like kind of hard to make money because there are so many people, and even if this product is limited, all people buying this product, it's not like a few years ago who, I don't know, 10 people buying this product. Currently, it's like 100 people buying the same product. And once they try to sell this product, they undercutting themselves. So you don't make like 100 euros back, you only make like 20 euros back because the amount of people who were using bots is so huge that people are trying to undercut themselves to even sell the shoes. Currently, even the market is so bad that people even returning the shoes because it costs them more to sell the shoes on platform like StockX, on Collect, or some other platforms. They just buying the shoes, checking the market if people are undercutting the prices, and once the price is the same like the retail price, they're sending the shoes back. And this is also something like Claas told me that they have a lot of returns right now currently, because it's not like, okay, you're buying a shoe or you're selling this shoe to 200 people. It's like you're selling the shoes to 100 to 2,000 people, and the half of them just sending them back because you better send those back as paying, I don't know, making a 5 euros win from this shoe.
Yeah, that is really this is, to be honest, it was it's not like that. The higher the profit is, the more problems we have. We recognized in the last, especially in the last year, I would say, we recognized a completely change in the sneaker scene, and in the market too. But I'm not a marketing expert about what really changed. But what I can see from my perspective is really that the costs are getting more for handling our products. It's not like when we released a special item in the past, we were 100% sure that nothing was coming back. So the problem now we have is we have this right of that they can return it. And so it's always like that the shoes are ordered. Some are not really bringing some profit on the secondary market. So after 2 weeks, we receive them back. And instead of just sell it to normal customers other bots start to order it again. And this whole process starts again. And this causes a lot of costs. I totally forgot that. Good that you mentioned it, Kamil, to mention it today, because this is at the moment one of our biggest issues we have, and this is not like the past. And what we can see is that people buy much more. That means even items where the profit, that the profit will not be so high. It's, for example, we have collaboration shoes. There's for example, a musician making a shoe together with a shoe brand, and there's just a very little amount of items. Sometimes it's just regular shoes, and they just order it completely because they think, okay, we could maybe make profit of it if it's not available in the normal stores anymore. So they order completely the market, and there's a huge, I don't know where they have the money to do that, by the way, but you can see that this is really professional nowadays. So they have a lot of money to buy, and they do. then the shoes are all gone for 2 weeks, and then they find out they cannot make profit, and they are coming all back, and this causes a lot of this causes a lot of costs, and this is, I think, in the future getting more and more a problem. And then really selling those really rare high products. Yeah, and but to get back, and you can see it already, that was the screens I can show was what I was always seeing when we were releasing something in the night or in the morning. So yeah, that was for hours, and everyone who knows us as a shop user, I think, can remember those times, because it's not so long time ago that we have it. I mean, last year or year before last year, I cannot really remember, we had these issues. And sometimes we have it in the beginning of releasing a new shop, we had it too, because we were not really knowing how fast they can find out our scenarios to block them. But I think now we are on a good way, and we don't have downtime since half a year, I guess, Kamil. I mean, the shop was released half a year ago already. And only in the first 2 days we had some issues, but then since that time we don't have any downtimes. We had a little bigger attack, but that was caused because of another problem, by the way. But Philippe, you can switch one more. Yeah. So this is why I want to tell in a short way what we did in the past before. I mean, this is really a long time ago, before we had the possibility to find out who's a good customer and who is a machine. So we tried to do raffle markets for our shoes, but this was a complete disaster, to be honest, because then we had millions of participants. Sorry, my English.
Participants.
Yeah, and that was our servers with the raffle form were the cause, because we didn't thought that this could be a huge problem. Another thing what we did, and of course what we still do sometimes, is the manual blocking. But in that case, in the past, I was alone, and the other side were much more people, of course. So it was absolutely hopeless to do that. So in the end, I was just blocking completely networks, countries. For example, like I was blocking completely AWS or this Alibaba or LeaseWeb Netherlands. I had to block them completely for days sometimes. And you can imagine what other problems this caused, because of course we use services who are hosted on AWS, for example. We block complete countries. What is for our customer service, of course, a disaster when everyone from that country is asking the customer service why you cannot reach it. Especially, for example, we had to block Russia mostly of the time because of all the Siberian server farms there. There was coming a lot of traffic from there. Yeah, we deleted all this customer accounts. What was with this with this email addresses you can this disposable email addresses you can get easily on some websites. This needed a lot of manpower, and it was not really helpful. Then of course I started to, in my frustration, I started to block shipping addresses, names in our forms, but it was all not really helpful. Then that was the last thing I tried, was I wrote emails. As I told you, it's a long time ago. I was not really a professional at this time, because when I started here in the company, I was not responsible for this server thing. So I took over. And then later, Kamil joined from our hosting company we work with. But before, I was really alone. So I was writing emails to hosters or telecommunication companies to block all these crawlers or bots, because what the problem was at this time was that they, even when the product was released, they didn't stop. So the website was down, and I had a lot of things after every release to block. And of course, it was really with a lot of mistakes. A lot of customers were complaining because I blocked them, because I had to block these networks, and I lost completely the overview. So that was what we did. And Philippe, what we do now, yeah. But the result you can see, it was always bad gateway. So yeah, then we started to use blocking services. That is what I can mention before, like other what is it called, proxy. Yeah, what did we use, Kamil, in the beginning? What was not really helpful? I mean, I don't want to say a company we used, but this, yeah, we use proxy services. But of course, you can imagine what I'm talking about. But the bot users and all these companies who were focused on that, the professional ones, they easily find out how to solve this. We tried it with captures, we tried it with JavaScripts. Everything was not working. So yeah, what then we decide, okay, we have to find something different, and this is why we got together with CrowdSec. And yeah, in the beginning, we just used the existing scripts they offer, and the scenarios, like, for example, this bad user agents script they offer. But for my opinion, what was really the game changer for us, especially in the last year, was really that we are able to create our own scenarios. And for me, it was really amazing to learn about that a little bit more, how to do that on that platform. And so I already had these ideas I mean, we all know now the customer behavior. So of course, the first things we tried was, like, for example, we were thinking, okay, a normal customer is definitely taking a look at the picture. And then we found easily out that the bot scripts are never taking a look at any picture. So that was quite easy to create a scenario about. And then, of course, we limited requests in a special time. For example, only one request on an item every second. And of course, we limit this time you fill in forms or can take purchases. So that was our first measures. And of course, we developed a lot more. I wish I could tell, but I'm a little bit afraid to tell more about it. We were having this discussion before, but of course I cannot tell about all this scenarios we developed. And yeah, what I can say about is we I think, wait, let me take a look. I think on the next sheets you can switch. Yeah, there you can see already the result we are able to do. So I just took an example from this year. I was thinking of showing some requests from the past, but to be honest, you cannot really compare that. First of all, we were on a different platform at this time, and the market changed a bit. So we can talk a bit about that later. But what I want to show here is that you can already see that we are able to block most of the bad traffic. So what you can see here, that our normal traffic, what is going through, is nearly staying always the same. So it is really the same with our customers before, when we didn't have this order problems. So we are able now to do with all the scenarios we developed to block most of the bad requests.
Maybe you can describe a bit more what the graph is showing for the audience.
Yeah, you want to take over, Kamil, or should I?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we see similar graphs. You can see a big peak on those graphs. On those graphs, this is 403 and means those are people who are blocked. So we had a release from, I think, 26th of April. It was, Claas, I don't know.
No, it was 29th.
Oh, the 29th. Yeah.
In the first graphic, it was the 29th.
Yeah, and so you can see that, like Claas mentioned before, the people are starting their task about 2 or 3 hours before the shoe is released. So they already know there is a product which is hyped and it's going to be released. So there's a big community in the bot scene who provide you everything, like links, also price estimations, and if it's worth to buy this one or not. So you can see here that this was a hype shoe. So people started already a few hours ago task and already started to check if bots are working. And once the shoe was released, you can see this huge peak, which shows we directly blocking these people. It's not something like we had before that the traffic is going through and we dealing with 502. It's more like we blocking directly those people with scenarios we did together, because we currently know how we can block those people, and then we mostly know, okay, is this shoe hyped or is the shoe not hyped? And this is kind of interesting to see how the market evolved, because before it was like we always dealing with a bad gateway request and the page was not available to see. But currently it's like kind of easy for us to create a new scenarios or edit existing scenarios to make sure we are blocking people and not forcing into things like the page is not available, or there are customers who just want to buy a shoe but cannot buy this shoe. It's like more deeper what we find out to get only real customers into the shop so they can buy the shoes.
What's your evaluation of the ratio of bots that still go through, or eventually they do it manually and you cannot do much about it, versus people that are, the real people? Could you get an evaluation on your side?
I mean, it's hard always to say, because it's really depends if the shoe is hype or not. But mostly we block about 95% of bots on release, so we can deal with this one.
It's not so easy to say, Philippe, because our goal at the moment, to be honest, is I mean the future goal we have, especially Kamil and me, and is that we want, of course, only humans to buy those collectibles items, because we are seeing that a little bit from the collector's heart, and of course we don't want to spend by ourselves on the secondary market more money, and it's always a hassle to fight for these products. And of course our future goal is to just sell to real humans when we have these releases. But what you can see here, and I can see that I did a little mistake with the graphics, but anyway, what you can see here is we blocked a lot of bad traffic, but of course we know that most of the items are still bought by bots. But the goal we have at the moment is to keep the website available. And this is what we really can do now really good. And what we work in the future on, or what we work at the moment, is really to find out what is really the human behavior, that we can really 100% say, okay, this is a real customer. He really wants to have this item. I mentioned already before that bot users are just keeping the product if they can make profit. A collector is keeping the product, so we don't have any costs later. We just ship it, and the customer will keep the product. The bot user doesn't make any profit, or the profit is not high enough. He sends it back. So this is our future goal. But what you can see here, and where we are really successful nowadays, is that the website is still available, and all this bad traffic we can block. And for example, there's a huge change in the last years. Before, we had these problems with that we had a lot of unique visitors on the website. The number was incredible. You cannot imagine. It was like getting, sometimes when we had releases, like more than 1 million unique visitors on the website. There's just a little part left. It's more that they use little IP amounts, but the requests are really getting more higher. And Yeah, of course. We call it this is the more the greedy bots, or the greedy people who really wants to make a profit. The really smart ones you cannot really find at the moment. This is exactly what we try to find out for the future, and we have the tools now. It's just about the behavior, and the other point is we have nice ideas, but of course we don't want to block a real human. That's the point, because for example, some click more, some click less. You cannot do it based on the requests. You have to develop a little bit more, and I cannot say how we solve it now, or what is our plan in the future, because then I could get rid of the scenarios at all, because then when they know how to do it, then it doesn't make sense anymore. But we are on a good way to find that out for the future, and the tools we have.
I've got maybe a question for you, Claas. Since you said basically that the guys are buying, right? And the main problem, one of the problems that is costing a lot to Overkill, is that they are sending back the shoes if they don't find a market fit for the product they scalped. Now, maybe you can indirectly calculate how many were scalped versus how many were not scalped by looking at the reduction in the return rate from scalpers.
This is our next goal, and as I said, we are on a good way. But the number is still high, so I think we can do much more, and we have a lot of ideas about it. So that's why what we are working now. But we can see already. We for example, we released just like a slipper, a Croc. This Crocs plastic shoes, for example. There was a collaboration with a musician or with a designer. I cannot really remember. And it was even on the secondary market less. And what we found out, this was a good example to find out about this behavior of real humans. We were shipping this again and again, and we don't have this problem anymore. So I would say this kind of costs we reduced already about more than 50%. But of course, the problem is at all that the return rate is getting higher in the market. But as I mentioned before, I'm not really into this marketing thing. I just know that the return rate is getting higher. But I can say that with these high products, the return rate is much lower now. And since we worked on these scenarios we developed than before. And this is a really plus, and it saves us a lot of money. If you compare the handling cost plus the shipping cost, especially the return cost is much more expensive than the shipping cost to the customers, and it's still for free in our case. We save, on each return, what does happen? We save more than 10 euros nowadays. That's the point. So you can imagine that there's a huge amount. I mean, I wish I could tell details how much products we ship, but
No, it's fine.
You have to understand.
Maybe a closing word from Kamil. You told us also during the preparation of this webinar that you think there is a direct relation in between the fact that there are less IPs attacking, creating more volumes. And you detailed very interestingly how so, and why do you think they use less IPs doing more volumes?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting because I was also using bots a few years ago, and it was kind of interesting to use those, because when you want to buy a shoe or you want to buy something which is limited, it was the best way to get this one. And a few years ago, it was kind of easy to get residential or data proxies to use this one with your bot, and they was kind of cheap. But currently, since Corona or after Corona, it's something like very expensive to get proxies, and to use those, it's like you need to pay a double of money you pay a few years ago. So it's hard for people to buy, 100 proxies and use those on release, when they can only make about 50 euros back on profit from a shoe. So it's currently more like people are buying less proxies, but trying to use those as long as they can. So we can also see on Overkill that we blocking people and they don't stop their task. They are still running tasks, I don't know, for 6-7 hours and making tons of requests. I mean, we had one day and one release, and we had about 43 million of requests, and about 20% of requests was only from one IP. So the guy started at, I don't know, 6 or 7 a.m. morning and thought he can go through, because like on other platforms, it's like you got blocked and a few hours later your IP is back and whitelisted, so you can try again. And we dealing this way with CrowdSec, that we blocking someone, and if this IP is blocked and try again, that time is going up. So people are not blocking for 1 or 2 hours. Depends of the scenarios they forcing into. They could go into, I don't know, 100 hours. So it's really interesting that there are currently lower IPs, but the time they try to use those IPs is much longer as before.
Thanks a lot for this insight, because it's something we don't expect or know when we are not on the scalping scene as you guys are. And what I take from this is that there are the residential proxies that used to be a pest for quite a while are maybe not as trendy as they used to be, or they are just so trendy that they cost more.
Yeah, I mean, the residential proxies, like there is example, you could buy about, I don't know, 100 IPs for 20 euros. And currently you can buy 100 IPs about double of the money. So it's less value for those which you can use, because most of people using data center proxies, because you have only few proxies, but you don't have any limitation of those. So you can try to, I don't know, change those IPs and move forward. And this is something like people try to buy, but the IP pool where they can get those proxies, it's getting smaller and smaller each day. So,
and by the way, it's very interesting, this evolution I find in the way they are using. Claas, you told us earlier you try to block those ISP grade ISP ranges that are not delivering IP addresses to individuals. You know, the one that are, for example, data centers and stuff like that. A buyer is not supposed to come from a data center, or it's unlikely. Would you say that it was not efficient for why is the reason it was not efficient, and why did you stop this precise strategy?
I mean, of course, we are still doing that. I mean, and it's easy. There's some hosters, like what is not AWS, what is this? I forgot all these names, but there's some delivery networks, some Chinese hosting companies, whatever. I have a huge list about, and they are easy to find. That's the point, and they are easy to block, and so I still do that, of course. But the problem what we have nowadays is, as Kamil said before, they were easy to identify because they were using that a lot. And from the graphics you were seeing before we released the product, they already tried to order the item, even if it was not possible to put it into the cart. So the requests were already sent, or the scripts were already run, and this was really easy to identify. Now when this change and the IPs or the hosting parts is getting more and more expensive, they are getting smarter and they are really hard to identify. But and they wait till the product is released, for example, because you can. At the beginning, I was just sitting there 2 hours before, blocked everything what was already trying to order, even if it was not released. Of course, they found out, and so they do this investment anymore. But what we have now is they start later, they start smarter, but they do more requests. So even with less IPs, we have a lot of capacity we need to deliver the content they ask. And this causes more problems, and they are, of course, getting smarter against every scenario we develop. After a while, it's the point they always find out. So there is, at the moment, of course, no unique the one scenario we develop what is working. So it's a process we always work on. And yeah, this is the huge change, and this is really difficult because now it is not so cheap anymore. So it's getting more and more professional every week or every year. So yeah, this is it's kind of evolution.
Thank you for this very, very transparent and fascinating feedback from the both the sneaker scene and the scalping scene. That was very educational, even for us that are working in this field. I'm guessing maybe we will have questions from the chat. Guys, if you have questions and if you want them to be answered by people that are very professional in their field, don't hesitate. It's a time to ask them. I'm looking at the chat as we speak. We have a doppelganger with many personalities here. But Jonathan has a question. Okay, thank you. Yeah, definitely. That is precious for a lot of other fields, and not only scalping, actually. When we speak scalping, we dealt with like credit card stuffing in the past. That is a very classical way, or spying on your catalogs. All of this is something you can deal with because they are highly behavioral. And this is where it's different from a WAF, for example, that will just brute force his way through patterns. You're not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to do that. But that just doesn't solve the behavioral problem, the behavioral aspect of the problem. Hence, you need to have a different kind of approach. And when we learn that actually scale, and again, thank you to ScaleCommerce for pushing the limit and the boundaries of what the product was doing, because we created the engine. We didn't create the use case, neither the scenarios. This is all the work of Claas and Kamil together. One more example that a provider, an MSSP, working hand in hand with his client can achieve amazing results when they are focusing in the same direction and with the same skills. So guys, thanks a lot for all this. We learned a lot. We at CrowdSec learned a lot on how you use the product. It inspired Thibault a lot about what feature to bring next. And we can tell you that we will bring a WAF component, a WAP component to be more accurate, that will help you also react directly at the scale of the WAF in the HTTP request, which is also cool. Last question from Jonathan. He's asking how often are you adapting your scenarios? I'm guessing it's for Claas or Kamil.
Well, it's kind of interesting because this is something Claas and I was talking before. We already started with scenarios because, to be honest, the whole scalping game is like cat and mouse playing. So we mostly checking like if there's a huge release, and when there's a good release, we're trying to change those scenarios to make more people going through, but with the idea to get more IPs which are bad, so we can block on the next release those IPs directly. And this is something like there's no number. It's like a feeling when we see, okay, there's already big traffic before the release, so we're trying then to identify if those are bots or not, and then try to change the scenarios. But to be honest, we mostly keep the scenarios how they are. We only change the way how people got blocked, because there is something like Claas already mentioned. We're checking if there are huge registration of people, or if there are huge API calls. So we're changing mostly the amount, how many people can do something, but we don't want to do something like, okay, you need to go to this page, and if you reload 2 times, you got blocked, because then everyone got blocked. So we're trying really to find out how a real customer is navigating or going to the site, and trying to write scenarios for this type of way how they're dealing with the website.
Yeah, and sometimes we are really happy to get some insights from our customers, because yeah, sometimes when we develop something, we talk really often. I mean, a few times a week, of course, but we are not constantly working every week. We are just working on the scenarios after releases, when we see, okay, there's more traffic than normal and something is not really working. And we work, of course, on the scenarios when customers give us some feedback that they cannot reach the website or something, because when we just developed something what we were thinking what is really good, then of course we found out that sometimes we were a little bit doing too much, and one or two customers is maybe blocked, and with their feedback, what is really nice, because in this sneaker scene you get a lot of feedback, even on social media you get a lot of feedback. We go on, and then we reduce, for example, the blocking time, or the time when requests are collected, or the number of requests we make it a little bit higher, what is possible, and so on. So you cannot really say how often we work on that, but it's a constant way we do all the time, I guess.
Just one word also on one thing is what Overkill is doing, you can do. If several of you are doing it, what happens magically with CrowdSec is we start to have a database that we can redistribute to everyone about IPs that are scalping. So say Overkill is using this scenario. They share the scenario with another company, say Gravis. And tomorrow Gravis is using it as well. And a third one. What we see is that if Overkill, Gravis, and this third company are seeing the same IP address, say ABCD, having a scalping behavior, the day Gravis is seeing it, it's telling automatically, you don't have to do nothing. It's a built-in process in CrowdSec. Overkill will be made aware of those IPs, right? And if it's too small at first, we can have like private communities in between you guys, so that you can share those IOCs, as we call them in cybersecurity, indicator of compromission. So this is something that is a multiplayer game, if you want. Thank you all for the time. We are nearly time out. Yes.
Yeah, just one thing for Jonathan said that we are not aware that we are too active with blocking. Of course, one thing is I didn't mention is we are not using that all the time. Of course, this really strict scenarios we use when we have releases. So we are not using all the scenarios we developed in every time. That's the point. We have sometimes more. I mean, we make it more difficult or more strict than on the normal daytime, for example.
Yeah, it's used on purpose when there is a need for it. You activate it when there's a new collection or a sneaker that is going to get a lot of attention, obviously. Because it's dynamic context. And I think this is what also Kamil highlighted nicely. It's a cat and mouse game, meaning it's dynamic. You cannot just think that there's a silver bullet static that you will put in production and deal with the problem. But hey, we all know you guys, you are e-commerce experts. You know that e-commerce is dynamic. If any field is definitely that one. You need to adapt constantly. Here, it's not requiring a lot of work. It's requiring to be smart and do the work, but there's a tool now to help you do this. And this was the goal of this webinar, to show you that there are solutions and that you can actually deal with this problem that you could not before using the behavioral approach of CrowdSec. The best part is it's free and open source. So I know Germany is big on open source. There are obviously ways for us to monetize this, but basically you won't have to pay a dime to protect you like the guys did. Is if you want to have extra services, you would have to. Thanks again, everyone, for joining this webinar that was recorded. I think we will be delivering this video feed later on online so that you guys can replay it or share it with friends. Thank you, Kamil and Claas, for this transparency in sharing what you did and all your tremendous experience in this scene of scalping. Thank you, Thibault, for accompanying me in presenting CrowdSec. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.
Thank you very much.